Okay. Good morning, everybody. Right. Let's get all this up. All right. Hi. All right. Let me get a few things ready. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit behind this morning. There we are. That's far though. All right. This is a hard course, everybody. It keeps getting harder. I'm not sure if you're doing the homework yet, which you should be, but it continually gets, we get so much information here, and we get so much, I don't know. Every time that I get taught like courses like this where it just goes deeper and deeper into emptiness, right? There's a place where it just kind of, I don't know. I always get to a place where I just sometimes feel saturated. I'm like, no more. I can't take any more of this, because what it does is it keeps pushing your mind to understand where is it coming from. It keeps pushing you to challenge everything that you think is there by itself, right? To challenge you to think, okay, where is that coming from? Like yesterday, I'm packing up all the equipment for our trip to Diamond Mountain, leaving tomorrow. And all my stuff got moved. Right. Do you know how annoying it is to put your tech equipment away and have it ordered and put in exact correct place so that you can just grab it when you need it? And then you lose stuff. Like, I still can't find the power adapters for two of the TVs I have to bring. All right. It's Wednesday. We're going to Diamond Mountain. There's no way that I can even order them and have them there on time. And then all this, and I wrote the manager of, of our space, and I was like, why has all this stuff moved? Why has this been unplugged? Why has this changed? And I wrote this long message, and I sent it, and then I looked at it and I was like, huh, wonder why I have to. So I had the question in my head. I said, well, wonder why I have to see this. Right? That moment where you're like, huh, why do I have to experience this? And I was like, without really having to think too long, I was like, okay, I know why. So my response to it was, please don't respond. I know why this is happening to me, period. Right. And I saw them starting to respond and they didn't respond. And I was like, good, we're not having an argument, because I wasn't complaining to the manager. I wasn't saying that they did it. Maybe someone else did it, but maybe they did do it. I don't know. Maybe they'll take care of the problem. Maybe they won't. Maybe we'll get in an argument next time we see each other. Maybe we'll give each other a hug. I don't know. Right. Not related events anyway. But the idea is that the way that you become super spiritual is not by sitting in an ACI class and turning on your camera. You all were waiting for that. It's been 7 minutes since I've said it. Thank you. One person did it. The way that you become super spiritual is not by sitting in an ACI class. That's necessary in terms of study, right? But the way you become, a great practitioner is how fast can you interrupt that experience that's annoying you or you're upset about? Like, how quickly can you say, oh, I wonder why I have to see this? And then you only have to look probably not too far into the past to see how you created it by your prior actions, right? And and that sounds pretty, right? It sounds sweet. It sounds, oh, well, that's, then I can make a perfect world. Why not? Right? If everything's coming from me, then that can become the basis upon which I create the most perfect world. And how do you create the most perfect world? By being moral, by being ethical, by not taking people's stuff that doesn't belong to you. So why do I have to see people take my tech equipment and move my stuff around and take my power adapters? Well, Tim, because you were the idiot. You didn't respect somebody else. Why can't I get all 51 people to turn on their cameras? I don't know. What seed? What seed? Why do I have to see this? Why don't you want me to see you? What are you hiding? Right? Oh, Tim, what have you hidden your entire life? In what ways have you not wanted to connect with people? Right? So instead of being irritated, I can just look at that and be like, well, yeah, you spent a lot of your life doing that. So then at a certain point, you kind of just get, I don't know, it just becomes kind of funny, to be honest. Your life just becomes one series of, it just becomes a continual series of, wonder why I have to see that. I wonder why I have to see that. I wonder why I have to see that. It's like the movie Groundhog Day. If you ever watched that movie with Bill Murray, he has to relive the day over and over and over again until he figures out how to get through it. It's a perfect Dharma movie, right? Like, you have to keep doing it over and over and over again until you stop doing it, right? And you start doing something else. So, and that's why it gets difficult. It's because we don't want to look at the things that we think, I don't know how do I say this. It becomes more and more difficult to look at the things in our life that keep us small, that keep us from expanding into the person we could be, right? And part of that is then starting to look around and to say, what do other people need, right? What do other people want? Do they want the same thing as you do? Do they not want you to take their stuff? Imagine if you got up this morning and you went to take your shower and someone had stolen your shower, the towel to dry off, and they moved it somewhere else. Oh, actually, it's better in the kitchen. I didn't think it was a good place in the bathroom, so I moved it across the house, right? Or how about when you sit down at the toilet and then it's too late and someone didn't replace the toilet paper. Right? There's a moment where you're like, what do you like? Ask yourself the question in that moment, why do I have to see that? Right? How many people have had it happen to them enough that they always check before they do anything in the bathroom, even if it's your own house? Right? Whether or not you have toilet paper has nothing to do with whether you left it there or not the day before. Okay. And same thing with your towel in your shower. Like, why doesn't someone say, well, actually, I decided to hang it up as a curtain in my bedroom because it works better as a curtain than as your towel when you get out of the shower and you're wet, right? That's what happened to Tim. Someone thought it was better to move this thing over here, right? So stop stealing people's toilet paper. Z, you should come to Sedona. They built Sedona based on roundabouts. It is the most annoying thing ever. Roundabouts are the instead of putting stoplights, they put circles that you have to go around. They're not like Jersey circles, but there's equally as annoying. You know, why does someone have to put, why people put circles in Sedona? Because they didn't want to have stoplights and pollute the sky so you could see the stars, right? But the unintended consequence of that is traffic is a disaster, right? Everyone has to wait all day long to travel through the city. I guess. But yeah, why do you have to see that as annoying? Like, what is it in your life that you see as annoying, right? And just realize that you've been that annoying person. You've been that person. Now, okay, we'll get to the class in a second. How many people have gone to somebody's house and have used something in that house without asking for permission? Right? Maybe little things, right? Have you ever taken a shower at your friend's house and forgot to ask whether you could use the shampoo and the soap? Right? You just assumed because they said you could take a shower that you could use their soap. Or how about they say, oh, can I use the bathroom? Right? Did you ask if you could use the toilet paper? You asked if you could go to the bathroom, right? And they said, sure, you can use my toilet, right? But did you ask if you could use the toilet paper too? It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of a weird thing to say, right? Oh, do you mind if I use some toilet paper too? The best is in English, can I borrow some toilet paper? And I'm like, no, you can have it. I don't want it back. Right? I don't want it back. Right? You know, sure, it might come as a package, right? Like people assume those things. But how about if you get in someone's shower and they have 10 different kinds of shampoos and soaps, right? Which one is their favorite? Which one is their most expensive, right? So like look at the way that you might take things without asking for them. Now don't become that weird person that like like for example, sometimes you're driving down the highway and you have to go to the bathroom. You stop at a Starbucks, right? It's an easy place to go to the bathroom, right? But did you ask them if you could use their bathroom? Or do you feel like, well, I should buy something, right? Or I buy things most days. I just don't want a coffee today. So I'll take yesterday's purchase to count for using today's bathroom, right? Like little things like that, right? Starbucks has a policy that their bathrooms are open to anybody. And if you know that, that's why you can go there and not feel guilty about it. And that's why they do it. So you don't have to feel like you have to buy a coffee to use the bathroom. Well, at least in the United States, they are. But, you know, really, like, if you walk into a place and you look like you're having an emergency and you're just waiting in line for 20 people and you get up there and you're like, can I use your bathroom, please? Right? The person's going to be like, everyone knows that experience, right? It's not comfortable. So, anyway, just look at who you are, and that'll tell you why you react the way you are to things in your life. Okay. Because I could have easily reacted earlier to those things that were missing to be like, oh, well, I guess they needed them. Or I could have been like, oh, maybe I didn't put them back in the right place. Maybe it's my fault. Even just thinking that, well, I know exactly where I put them and they're not there right now. Right. So instead of being like, well, I guess someone needed them versus, well, I guess we won't have TVs at Diamond Mountain. Right. I'll find a solution. But you see, like, there's a million different reactions to any moment anyway. And if you're not aware that there's a million different reactions, then you're just planting the cycle over and over again. And that's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop the insanity of our lives. Okay. Right. We're trying to stop the ways. By the way, I want to show you guys something really cool. I moved to a new house. I live in Rimrock now. Someone called it Tim Rock. I like that. Right. They mistyped it because the R and the T are close together. Right. I'm going to show you. Hopefully, you'll be able to see. That's my view right now, and that's the sun coming up over there. Right. So, asking myself the question, why do I have to see that? Like, why do I get to look out and see that? Right. Or I ask the question, well, why do I get to have such a beautiful view, but my eyes don't work like they used to? So I can't enjoy it like I would have if my eyes were working right. you know, it's kind of fascinating. I'm like, huh, I don't get to enjoy this the way I used to. Or can I still enjoy it without my eyes working right? All these weird questions come up. But if you want to stop the insanity, like, you have to look at yourself and look at the way that you continually plant the seeds to create the things that you don't like. And then even when things you do like if, oh, this is such a beautiful sunrise, if I don't think about why I have to see this beautiful sunrise, I'm still equally insane because then I could lose it, right? What if I lost what if this weird eye condition progresses and then I go blind? Great, Tim, you have the best view in Rimrock, but you can't even see it. Right? So that'd be ironic. But then I'm like, well, how did I get this house? Like, how did I get this view? How did I, why? You know, I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about the why later. There's a very particular why. Okay. In last class, now let me there's sort of a transition here. The transition is we're talking about me. right? We're talking about, oh, poor me. Poor me had his stuff stolen yesterday or misplaced or moved, right? Poor me, someone yelled at me. Poor me, this, oh, I'm hungry. I'm sad. I didn't get enough sleep, whatever, right? This idea of me, we're going to be investigating today. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you can become? And how do you see yourself and take you to be you? And I mean that very specifically philosophically. How do you take yourself? Like when you think of Maria, or you think of Anna, or you think of Anastasia, right? This is why you need to show me your pictures because then I can learn your names. Duh. Okay. The way that you take yourself, the way that you perceive before you even say like when you wake up in the morning and you go, "Oh, hi Tim," right? You don't usually say hi to yourself, right? You just start believing that you're there, right? From its own side. Oh, great. I woke up again today. Right? I didn't die. Congratulations. And so there's this feeling of where we take this me, somehow there's a me that's unchanging. Right? Sure, we're all changing. None of us are 8 years old anymore, right? None of us are. I was thinking about this. These are the weird thoughts that Tim has, like while driving. Like, can I remember my body of a when I was 10 years old? Right? Can you remember what your body was like? It's very difficult to remember that, right? Like, it's a weird thought and it's kind of funny, but it's relevant. It's like, can I remember my body before puberty? Like, what was it like beforehand? Right? And it's like, no, I don't remember any of that. Right? My body had to have changed. I've seen baby pictures, the little cute pictures that mom shows people of little Timmy naked. I'm sure your mom does it too. I don't know what social media does this, but I mean, like, there's like 10 pictures of me as a kid, right? Because it costs a lot of money to have cameras and to, you know, to develop the film. But like, can you remember your body at 15? Or like when you like halfway through puberty, can you remember what your body was like? You can maybe imagine it, but like, or what your body was like at 20. And then eventually, I don't know how old everybody is, right? You do notice that your body's not like what it used to be, right? Like then if you're 40, 50, you're like, hmm, what's going on here? Right. But even when you look down and you're like, this is not the body that I had 10 years ago. It's very difficult to remember that body. Oh, Z has an example like before and after children, right? Like the body changes, right? There's a lot of, it's a rapid change, right? And then sometimes people change back. Sometimes they don't change at all. Sometimes they change. Like there's all these changes our bodies go through. You get sick, you get healthy, you feel better, you feel worse, right? No one would argue that our body doesn't change, right? And it's really difficult for people to say, well, my mind doesn't, my awareness, I did have awareness through my whole life, whether I remember 10-year-old Timmy or not, right? Obviously, I was somewhat aware. I learned algebra and, basic sciences and things like that. So we wouldn't argue that our bodies don't change. Like no one would. Like we know we're changed. We're not the same person we were 10 years ago. And actually, I'm happy that I'm not that person anymore. Although maybe I wish I had the body of 10 years ago, with the wisdom of now, but things change, I guess. But no one argues that. But there's this idea of the question is, so someone shows up, like in Master Shantideva. So someone shows up and starts asking a question, and they say, well, look, the person who committed the karma when they were 10 or 12 or 3 days ago is not the person they are now. So, how is it possible that they experienced the karma that they planted 10 years ago or yesterday? Like, why? Like, if that person's no longer there because they're constantly changing, why would they have to experience the karma of something they did? They're not the same person. It's not a dumb question, by the way. If you really think about it, it's like anytime someone shows up in these texts, for those of you who are nerds and they go to mixed nuts, kachik, right? Some guy, some lady, some opponent, some mouth, right? Some words, right? Somebody shows up and says, wait. How if everything is changing, right? It's a logical question. If everything is changing, I'm not the same person I was before. Well, then why do I have to experience the karma of my before when I'm not that person anymore? And they say, in order for me to experience the karma of before, I have to be unchanging. There has to be something about me that's not changing. I'll say it again. I was looking to see some confusing faces. Some really smart person shows up and says, wait a second. How is it possible that karma is something that works? Because I'm not the person I was before. So if you're telling me that karma and its consequences always have to happen, then there is something about me that doesn't have to change because I'm not the same person anymore. So therefore, your idea of karma and consequences doesn't make any sense. It's not a dumb question, right? And so, oh, hold on. I need to plug my computer in. I don't have all my systems set up anymore yet. Okay. So Shanti Deva gives an answer. And you have to think about it. And it's really important to think through these things and the logic of them, because you'll probably find that somehow you think karma and its consequences comes from its own side. Somehow you think that karma doesn't have emptiness. Mm. I see eyeballs moving when people are thinking. When someone is thinking, when someone is thinking about what they don't understand, typically they look up. Like they look away and they look up. They're like, they're trying to conceptualize something new. You think karma comes from its own side. You think karma is unchanging. We'll get to that in a second. So Shantideva says, look, first of all, your argument is stupid. He gives three reasons why this argument is stupid. Of course, he probably didn't say stupid, but he said meaning. How about meaningless? He said, because Buddhists and non-Buddhists, we both think that we all agree that the person of today is not the same person of 10 years ago. Come on. We all say that. Okay. He said, don't make a distinction. Okay, this is where logical argumentation is very powerful and it's annoying, but it clears up your own thinking. This non-Buddhist is coming to the Buddhist and says, look, karma and its consequence, how could you experience the result of your actions if you're not the same person? Right? And then, the first argument Shantideva gives us is the easy one. He says, well, look, both you and me agree that we're not the same person. So your argument is dumb from that point of view. It's not helpful. Don't try to get me on some kind of tract of whether Buddhists believe this or Christians believe this or blah, 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 blah. Like no one disagrees that their body is not the same. Their mind is not the same of 10 years ago. No one agrees to that. Everyone will agree to that. You are different. So that's the first way he destroys the argument. Then he gets all Nagarjuna on us. And he says, well, then if we're not the same person as they were 10 years ago, then I guess that the karmic seed that was planted or must touch the result that comes out of it. We're going to be doing Nagarjuna next week, or by Friday. He says, well, if karma and its consequences don't touch in the first argument, okay, fine, you destroyed me there. Fine. So, well, then the karma and its consequence, they have to touch each other to be able to create the result. Right? That's logical. Right? If they can't touch each other because we're different people and somehow in karma still works, then I guess they have to touch each other. Logical, right? Is there anyone who's not with me? This is why I want the cameras on, so I can see your faces. I think I'm going to make it a requirement in ACI 13. You guys are going to die in that class. I'm going to die in that class. What I mean by touch, I mean that the karma, in order for the karma to create a result, it has to become the result. So they have to touch each other at some point. Because in this way, they don't, because we're different people. But now they have to touch each other, right? And Nagarjuna, Master Shantideva, all these great. Oh, you think the time gap has self-existence? Sorry, Natalia. Natalia's getting all philosophical in the chat. You think the time gap between karma and its consequences is self-existent? Here's the karma, here's the time gap, here's the result. Do they touch each other? Does the karma become the time gap and then the time gap become the consequence? Right? What's going on? So Nagarjuna, Shantideva, a lot of people will say, oh, so if they touch each other, then the karma and its result are the same thing. Which part of the cause became the result? right? Which part of it? Which part of the original karma turned into the result? The left side or the right side? Or which part? Which part? How did the caterpillar become the butterfly? When did the caterpillar become the butterfly? Oh, it was a process, Tim. Well, point out to me the process. Tell me where. The beginning part of the end part is the part that turned into the beginning part of the start of the result. Sorry, translators. Great. Thanks. You just added more words to the same problem. And when you get really good at debate, you can do 13 or 14 iterations in one part and follow it all. Okay. So the thing is, the karmic cause and the result cannot exist at the same time. It makes no sense to talk about it that way. If they existed at the same time, they'd be the same thing. Or is it like the cause goes into a cocoon, and in the cocoon, it becomes the cause and the result together. And then the cause goes, oh, I'm no longer a caterpillar, I'm a butterfly. And then it comes out of the cocoon and becomes a butterfly. Yeah, but a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, Tim. Yes, it does. When does a caterpillar stop becoming a caterpillar? When can we say it's a butterfly? Oh, but it turned into a cocoon, Tim. Oh, it turned into a cocoon. When did the caterpillar become a cocoon? How are all these translators? I'm going to, good luck. When I try to translate Spanish and they start using words from the ocean and start saying names of fish, I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay. So look, there's a problem. The cause and the result cannot exist at the same moment because then there would be no cause and result. It'd be the same thing. But Tim, there is a cause and there's a result. Yes, I didn't say there wasn't that. Okay. I'm just getting you guys ready for Nagarjuna this weekend. Good luck, translators. I know you all die when you translate Geshe Michael. It's 10 times worse than I am. It's 10 times smarter than me, too. Um, so that's not possible. Okay. So when you get to these impossibilities, there has to be some other explanation. All right. And I had a feeling about it last night, and it's not a really good, it was made sense to me. But Shanti Deva says that just because you're moving through time as a person, it doesn't mean that that person can experience the results of it. There's a continuous stream. Okay. He says there's a stream of you, and there's no problem with that because that's how we experience the world. But that stream of moments of mind and body, you are actually labeling as me. It's a karma that's opening up that says, that's me. Okay. So I was thinking about this last night. So it's really fun to move into a new house and figure out how other people lived because sometimes it just makes no sense. Like where they put the silverware, the forks and spoons and knives. However they designed this house makes no sense at all. I always go to reach in a different place for the spoons and knives and forks. Right. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. So the room that I'm sleeping in, they have this, some people, they have it's a metal wire that goes across the wall. There's three of them. And on the metal wire, there's little hooks. And they had pictures, right, of their life, like the family. Like I looked at them when I was looking at the house. Like it was the family. And I was trying to get a sense of who they were, what they liked, and what kind of people they were. They're very sweet, actually. But I could see they were like moments of this person's life, right? Little snapshots. And there's probably like 25 places for pictures, right? And at first I thought it was stupid. That's how I'm like, well, this is kind of dumb because the pictures get all like wrinkly and everything. But as I was looking at it last night, I was like, oh, it's a special message for me, right? Because that's how you conceive of yourself. You're putting a wrapper called me, called Elizabeth, or called Ludmila, or Tim, or whatever you call yourself, around all of those moments. Those moments that open up 65 a second through your entire life, mind and body. It's like a wrapper that you put around all of that. And you call that me. That's Tim. That's Anna. That's Janine. All right. And that wrapper that you put around all of those moments is the wrapper that, while it's a changing thing, yes, it still is, it's the thing that experiences the karma of before and in the results of after. Right. The time that you experience yourself, you know, the quote of, how's it go? Like, I don't know, that it's about the caterpillar and butterfly. Oh, you were just a caterpillar and you're turning into a butterfly, like the pain of the transformation or something like that. But that transformation, that process itself is a label that you put on top of it. It's a karma that's opening up over top of it that says, that is me. That is Maria. That is Shib. That is Kathy. Right. And that's the person that experiences karma. Right. And it wasn't any other way. It doesn't change anything. You're just putting me as a collection of the parts of me are the moments of awareness or the moments of body or both. And I'm just putting a wrapper around it called me. The parts of you that make up you, do those parts have parts? Oh shit. Okay. So the next question that appears here is, really? My cats are like in a new house, by the way. The next question that appears here is, what is the minimal, what is the, okay, let's go to statistics. It's easier. The parts of you. Oh, the parts of Tim were these things. He was 10, he was 13, he was 22, he was these things. He had a body, right? Those parts that Tim perceived. that make Tim Tim. Like, oh, I have a memory of playing in the backyard with my brother. I have a memory of peeing in the sandbox. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I'm sharing it with you. Okay. I have a memory of being yelled at because I didn't clean my room well enough. I have a memory of, oh, my first high school dance, right? I have a memory of, oh, yesterday I had dinner with my teachers, right? All of these things, right? All of these things happened in a continuous stream, right? And that's what I say is me. That's Tim. I can tell you the story of my life. You write a memoir. It'll be great. I don't know if anyone will read it. It's probably not that interesting, right? We all have our memoirs, right? We're this hero or heroine of our own story, right? The Natalia story, dun, da, 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 right? What happened in, you're the hero of that story, right? You're the center of that story. You write your story, you write your autobiography, your memoir, you go on tour, people interview you, right? They name a library after you when you die, all these cool things. Okay. But those parts themselves, do those parts have parts? Like, oh, the memory of Tim peeing in the sandbox by accident. I remember I was 4 years old and I played and played and played. And then I had to go to the bathroom and I couldn't hold it. So I peed in the sandbox down my leg. And I remember I started crying. Right. I was just crying in the sandbox. And my neighbor came out. My neighbors are really cool. They gave us milk and cookies every day. Right. So here's little Timmy in the sandbox peeing. Right. To me, it feels like it was a moment. It was a moment in time, 4 years old. But does that moment have parts? Yes. Okay. Well, there was the moment where I started peeing, there was the moment while I was peeing, and then there was the moment when it ended. Right. When did the start of it happen? Well, there was a moment right before it. There had to have been a moment right before it. And then there was a moment right when it started. And then there's a moment in between the starting. Where's the first moment of Tim peeing in the sandbox? Anastasia, you're gonna have fun on this video. I can tell right now. This is the one that's gonna go viral. This is the one of all the videos. This is the one that's gonna go viral. But we're just waiting. Okay. Think about it. Like the concept of me was the story is just like a thing. Oh, Tim peed in the sandbox. Right. But then that part can be divided into parts. And then the part goes into another part. And when did it start? Well, when's the first second it started? Well, there's the first second. But what but that first second can be divided into another second, right? You can keep going. I'm going to stop with the joke, but you can keep going until you can't find the place where Tim started to pee in the sandbox. When was that first moment? You can't find it. So what happens is people ask the question, well, what is the minimal viable moment that can constitute a part of Tim? When I look at that part of Tim, that memory of me in the sandbox, and I'm thinking about me, like I'm putting a label of me on all these events, right? I know that I'm labeling me. What about the data? What about those points, those individual moments, the raw data? Do those individual moments have an emptiness? Right? Are those individual moments an image coming out of my mind? Are those individual moments a collection of other parts to create that moment, which is a part of the whole part of me, the parts of the parts, right? If I just look at the collection of memories that make up Tim, and I understand that those are the parts of Tim that make me me without analyzing it, okay. But those parts themselves have parts. So each of those things have parts themselves. And then you get to a place that what is the raw data? What is the raw data that makes up Tim? What makes Tim Tim? What makes Sandra Sandra? Right? What are those individual pieces? Where are those individual pieces? Find them. Go find them. Go find them right now. Tell me when you find the original smallest piece of awareness of the moment of in the sandbox. I'm sure you have a memory of your own. Maybe it wasn't a sandbox. Maybe there's something else, right? The raw data is itself also has an emptiness. The raw data itself has parts, and the part has the part. And so you get to a place where you can't find the thing. You can't find the thing you're looking for. I'm looking for the memory of Tim peeing in the sandbox. Where's the memory? If I don't analyze it, it doesn't get complicated. But as soon as I start analyzing it, if you want to get to a place to help trigger some realizations, just keep trying to find the thing. Try to find the thing. And if you think you found the thing, you haven't looked hard enough. And then your teacher will be like, good job. Go back to meditating. Right? Because when you touch the absence of the thing, because eventually you get to a place there you realize there can't be a thing. You can't be you the way you think you're you. All right. Because if you try to find it, you end up just coming up with emptiness. Right. So we're making a distinction between the emptiness of us and the emptiness of the parts. All right. That's funny. I just covered like 5 homework questions. That's good. I'll just say it one more time is that when you think of the parts of you, you think of those parts, you use you're using wisdom and ignorance together. All right. You're like, oh, me is coming from all these parts. What are the parts? All these memories. All of those memories you're taking as deceptive reality. You're all right. You're using all of those parts and not analyzing them. And you're saying those are the things that make up me. Those are the things that make me me. But then if you think about it, you're like, well, those parts have parts too. And you can analyze things that way. And you can keep going deeper and deeper. Okay. Oh, wow, we did a lot of things in that 15 minutes. Okay. So Tim, where is the line? When do I have to do this annoying meditation all the time? If I'm looking at, we talked about it last week, but when we're looking at the parts of your body, right? We're thinking, we think of like the atoms of our body. What are the smallest things that put things together? Right? That's what science says. Oh, you have molecules in your body. Well, your molecules have atoms, right? And you're like, well, now we know atoms have neutrons and protons and electrons. And then we learn that there's even smaller particles that make up the parts of an atom, right? We try to find the smallest particle. That's what the Abhidharma does. Like, what is the smallest particle of your body, right? What is the smallest amount of awareness that you have? Right? Those are the two great divisions of when we're analyzing ourselves: the atoms and the moments of awareness. Right. Well, which atom or which part of the atom in your body became the cancer cell? Right. Oh, that cell is cancerous. That created a tumor. Oh, okay, great. Well, which part of the cell became cancerous? You don't ask that question when the doctor tells you have cancer. You say, well, how do I get rid of it, doctor? Well, we can cut out the cells, or we could do radiation, or we could do chemotherapy, which would kill those cells and a lot of other things in your body. Or we could do immunotherapy and train your immune system. You're not thinking about, you don't analyze the cancer cells and go, well, which part of you is cancerous? Which is, by the way, how you might change the karma of having cancer. Or maybe taking care of other people who are sick. My friend was in a reputable country, meaning, you wouldn't think they'd have a bad medical system. All right. She had a terrible, terrible pain in her body. She went to the doctor and there was a big, I don't know, they called it a mass, a tumor in her uterus. And they were like, you have to get that removed immediately. You have to get rid of that immediately. Okay. But she decided to come back to the United States if she had to do that. So she would be home. Gets here, pick her up at the airport. We all go to the emergency room because, it was an emergency 2 days ago. And then, it's been a week since they've been home. And I had dinner at her house last night. Right. And I'm like, what's going on? And like, well, they don't see that I have a problem anymore. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, I'm going to find out today everything, but tomorrow. But the one doctor, and I mean, she saw the scan. She's a nurse, like she knows it was real, right? She had she needed to have a hysterectomy, and now it's gone, right? What? Why was it an emergency a week ago, and now there's not a problem, right? Which cell in her uterus was the bad cell, and which one was the good cell? What's like something weird changed, you know, and for me, like, how do you make sure you have health? Go take care of the health of other people. That's the punchline of all of this. Okay. The punchline of all of this is go take care of other people, because then you are no longer the center of your own world. When you define yourself as me, then what are the parts of you, right? What do you and we talked about this in an earlier Shantideva class. Well, how do you define you? This is the most important question now. What is the boundary between me and you? Like, I'm going to see Maria and Mike in a couple of days at Diamond Mountain, right? And Marina, a couple of you are going to be there. And like, there's a Tim and then there's them. They have their bodies, they have their minds. Right now, they're on Zoom, but I'll see them in person, right? My concept of me stops here at my body, right? And then that's Mike over there. Mike is over there. If you can convince yourself that you are just merely labeling you as you based on the parts that you take to be you, I gave the translators time. I'm so nice. Then what if you just included different parts in the concept of you? That's the punchline of this. Kamala Sheila asks a question. Why do I experience me as a continual me from the beginning? Like, look, there, Z's daughter, I think, is sitting with her, right? And then it's going to grow up, right? Isn't experiencing themselves as a child becoming, a toddler and hi, yeah, we're talking about you. You're going to grow up and be special. I can tell, right? But the concept of who that person is, right? It's your whole life. That's how you've defined me. But why do I have a sense of me through my whole life? Why does it feel continuous? That's the question. Why do you still feel like you're you? Even if you look at your body in the mirror and you're like, what? That's happening now, right? What creates that continuity? And Kamala Shila answers that question. It's by recognizing the continuity of other people, like recognizing other people as people. Like when I see Mike, do I just like ignore Mike or do I go, hey, Mike, it's good to see you? Right? How are you doing? I care about Mike. I care about his well being. I care about, by the way, Mike's a great writer. I'm going to embarrass you really quickly if you get embarrassed. I don't know if you get embarrassed or not. He's doing a lot of our writing, for some of our fundraising campaigns. And I was very impressed with your writing yesterday. And I was, it was this funny moment where I was like so impressed, but equally annoyed that I didn't know that email was going out. And I didn't get to read it beforehand and approve it as the director of ACI. I was like, shit, this organization is so busy and we're doing so many things that I don't possibly have time to read everything. But I was like, and then my thought was, thank God it was good. Right. No, but that's really cool, right? Mike's volunteering for ACI, is helping us with our fundraising, right? And I recognize Mike as Mike, right? And then how do I recognize, how do I say this? The parts that make me me, why do I create boundaries the way I create them? What if I just had other parts? What if I thought, look at all living beings, just my neighbors, right? My brand new neighbors. I already have an annoying neighbor. They have a little yappy dog that they leave outside in the morning and it barks for 45 minutes. I'm like, just take a fucking dog inside. Right? So it's like, but that's part of me, dummy. right? I must have been a yappy dog, right? I do talk a lot in these classes, but right, like why do I create my boundaries? Like, okay, the house is the boundary. Like, who do I include in the people that are me? My cats, right? That's nice. But do I really care about the people who live in the house over there with the yappy dog? No, not yet. But like think about like if you included, this is why we call communities, right? You're part of my community, so I'm going to take care of you. But since those people over there are not part of my community, I'm going to ignore them. Oh, those people in that country over there, they're a different religion. I'll take care of me here, but those people over there, I'm going to send bombs over there, right? If you define me differently, this is where the compassion side comes in, is basically what I'm saying. If you included other people in a definition of you, how would you treat them? Just ask that question next time you get upset instead of yelling at the person who's not even there that moved your power chargers for your televisions that you need to take to Diamond Mountain today. Like, if you're sitting in a storeroom yelling at nobody, like how many people have done that? Start yelling at someone who's not even there. And then recognize that those people are you. They are part of you. They are a part of you. Your world is you. Your world doesn't stop at the edge of your body or your house or your family. The world is you. Every layer, every single layer of it is you. Or you can get upset at yourself, same problem. Just different parts you're getting upset at and creating a group of things that you're getting it mad at. But your world is you. All of your world is you. And every part of you is coming from a past karma, whether you're analyzing or not. And it doesn't make the world any less real. Okay. You can still be hurt by your projections, right? Someone can still yell at you. You can still get hit by a car when crossing the street. You know, deceptive reality hurts. Deceptive reality loves. All of those things. It's all possible. And so, what is the main point of looking at all of this way? What is the point of that? If every level of the raw data that's in the parts of you, if each of those levels of raw data have parts, and each of those parts is a collection that you put together and call it something, that's what makes it possible that you could create an entire paradise. That's how you could create something completely, just have the parts put together differently. And it's not like you can just go out in the world and then like move the puzzle pieces around, and just move that tree over there, and then everything becomes a paradise. It's not like that. But it has to do with how well you treat other people, what your ethics are. How do you take care of other people? The things that you didn't think were you are you. That's why we talk about compassion. They are you. You don't have a choice. It's selfishly loving. Okay. It's a beautifully selfish worldview in a extremely expansive and helpful way. And if everyone had that worldview, then there is no selfishness. It's not selfish to take care of other people. That's why it's the wrong word. It doesn't work that way. Anastasia, do not put that on social media, please. Okay, please don't say that one. All right. But part of you are in everything you experience outside of you. You are in part of everything. And that's what makes it possible. That's what makes it possible to change everything. And then when you get very sophisticated at this in your own practice, then you start looking at the things that happen to you in your life, and you begin to wonder, was that thing that was bad not a bad thing in and of itself? Did that did that thing which I wish never happened and I would never wish upon someone else, but did happen to me, does it have a higher purpose and a higher cause? More important place in the person that I became? Would you be sitting here today if that didn't happen? Do you wish that it didn't happen? Yes. Do you wish that anyone else had that happen to you? Of course not. I would never wish any of those things upon anyone else. But maybe there's a deeper meaning to it for me. It was a deeper meaning for you. Maybe it was some kind of secret message to me to push me to a place where I could finally understand where things were coming from. And then when you can hold that worldview, and it doesn't mean what happened didn't hurt, or that it doesn't have significance, or that it was or that it wasn't terrible. Didn't say that. But what I did say is maybe it had a deeper purpose. And if you can hold that paradox in a way, right? It is a paradox, and it's not a comfortable place to be. But if you can hold that, then you have a deep possibility and a real possibility of changing things and becoming a being who can actually help and expand their capacity so much more than you ever thought was possible. And yes, sometimes things happen to us that are very, very challenging and very traumatic. And it didn't have to happen that way to you. You were forced to see it based on some past karma, probably from, you know, ages ago when you weren't even the person you are today. But it was forced upon you by your past karma. But then if you can shift the view of it, what value did it have to push me into perhaps developing more compassion or developing more wisdom? or both. When you can fully, I think this is supposition now. I think when we say we heal from our trauma, I think it's when we can finally recognize, how do I say this? I think one of the ways in which we know healing is starting to take place is when we can recognize that pain in other people, when you can see it in others and go, I know, let me help you. And that was, in a lot of ways, was the gift of what happened, because then you can recognize the suffering in other people. And that's why we always, always, always have to go to compassion when we're talking about emptiness. We can't leave it at, oh, everything's coming from you. Good luck. Goodbye. Have a nice life. The next step is, it always comes down to then compassion. Because what that ends us pushing us to is that, because we're having this misperception of the true nature of things, once we have a sense of what it actually is, that misperception becomes entirely powerless, and it can lose its grip upon you. One of my good friends called me the other day and is having a very difficult time with, they're just grasping to things, and like, I'm just grasping, and it's driving me crazy. And I was like, well, what about, how's your practice, right? And they're like, I know what I should think, but the emotion is too strong. I was like, oh, I get that, right? So let's talk about it. Like, what's going on? And then we talked about it for an hour, right? And I spent an hour with the person because I know what it's like to be overwhelmed by these emotions. The person that she loves is not loving her the way she wants him to love her, right? We know this one. So, great practitioner knows their stuff, still falls down, right? But then we talked about it, and we were able to unravel the emotion. We were able to unravel it. And we got to compassion, and we got to generosity, and we got to, where are things coming from. My interest really in all of that was, like, what's the basis of this intense holding on that you have? Why are you holding on to this person who clearly doesn't want the same thing you do? Like, what is that about for you? What is that pattern? Right. And we went into it, and we're working on helping to see what that pattern is. Not necessarily from a seed point of view. There's plenty of seeds in there, believe me. But now that they can understand the relationship with this grasping to other things that have happened in their life, over their life, the course of their life, they can see that this one person who's not interested in them is a karmic pattern they've had all their life. And I said, isn't it great that now you have the opportunity to change? Because do you want to feel like this in another 40 years? No. Okay, let's change this. Like, but when the emotion is high, the emotion is high, forget it. But when you understand where things are coming from, it has an antidotal power, a medicinal power to attenuate those afflictions. And then you can see how you've participated in them all of your life. Sorry, we're creatures of habit. right? And then we have to figure out what those things are. And don't tell people it's all coming from them. Help them understand their patterns, and then they'll see for themselves how it's coming from them. That's what I do all day. Like, let's work on that. Let's work on that view and see like how long it takes you to see how it's coming from you. My teacher does it to me all the time. Right. So the question of compassion comes up, right? If everything is empty, what what is am I supposed to feel compassion towards? If everything is empty, right? Everything is coming from me. How am I supposed to feel compassion towards all of that? It's just a projection. It's just empty. It's a logical question. And so Master Shantideva says there's three kinds. And his first one is compassion that focuses on things. All right. And it's kind of confusing, but just stick with me. And then we have to figure out how compassion comes out of it. So the compassion that focuses on things understands that the suffering being, the person who's upset, let's just say the person who's upset about the boy who doesn't like her. Okay. Their compassion focuses on the fact that that suffering being is changing moment by moment. Okay. When you're talking to a friend, when you're talking to anyone who's in pain, which we all are, okay, you're focusing on the compassion in that is focusing on the fact that that person is changing instant by instant. In fact, you're focusing on you're able to see that the person who's there who's suffering is only a collection of parts that you're putting together to create them. They are just a collection of parts that you say is my friend. And this stops the tendency to see that person as unchanging and whole, independent, or that there's a soul or a being that exists within their mind and body. Right. And that kind of compassion. How many people have said, "Oh, I can't believe my mother is like this again"? you know, like my mom, she did it again, right? Hope mom's not here. Okay, she is, she's hiding. It'd be kind of funny, but it's not about mom. It's not about you, mom. It's me. I'm the one who's creating the mom who does the same thing over and over again. My fault, not yours. But if I can see that I'm just putting a collection of parts together that creates mom who's doing the same annoying thing that mom has always done, right? Then it changes my perspective that they're not necessarily fixed as that person. Has your mom ever surprised you with an act of compassion or love or something? You're like, this does not compute. right? Syntax error, right? Right, because they can change. Why do they change? Because your seed changes. And if you understand that they're just a collection of parts you're putting together and calling mom, right? And if you're just doing that, then why can't mom be someone different? Because they can be. And now the next level of compassion is this is I got 2 minutes here, dang. Well, I'll review it again tomorrow or next week. Not next week, soon. Focus on that doesn't really exist. Is that when you're looking at that person, you're just thinking they don't exist truly, despite the fact that they appear that way. All right. It's a easier level of compassion. Oh, they don't exist truly, even though it's appearing that way. And then the third type of compassion is compassion that focuses on a living being without making any of those distinctions, without saying that, oh, they don't exist truly, or without saying that, oh, they're just a collection of parts that I'm putting together to create them and they are truly a changing being. Okay. So, what I'd like you all to do in the next, we don't have class next week because we're at Diamond Mountain, but to think about like, what is the relationship of emptiness to your compassion? Why is it that if you truly understood where things were coming from, you would have no option but to have compassion for it, for the things that you see? That's your homework. And then, very quickly, our event coming up this weekend, starting on Friday evening, Arizona time, with an offering to our teachers, and then starting on Saturday with Geshe Michael. We're having a course on Medicine Buddha and Nagarjuna's wisdom together. And in that course, we're going to be taking the Medicine Buddha practices and then teaching everybody how to make them go incredibly deeper and much more powerful, much more quickly. So we're giving you advanced medicine Buddha practices that have never been taught before. And the main idea of this is that medicine Buddha practice is a lower diamond way practice, right? It only requires bodhisattva vows, you know, gives you some really great seeds for higher practice. But we're going to sneak in some of those higher seeds for you. All right. We're going to sneak in things that you can do to help you accelerate your understanding of wisdom and compassion, to help get you to that place where you can start doing the advanced ACI practices. Ooh. So we're going to start that this Friday and this week in Diamond Mountain. If you're not able to pay for the program and you want to attend, please, when you go to the website, just send us a message and say, look, Tim, I can't afford the $99. Why are we charging $99? It costs us money to run the organization. I sent an email to everybody yesterday, well, within the organization, was like, and said, oh, here's our financials. We spend $40,000 a month just to make ACI run. All right. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of fundraising. And we also, if you can't afford it, you can still come because we think that everyone should have access to the teachings. So if you can't afford the $99, Let us know what you can afford. Maybe it's $5. Maybe it's 10 cents. I don't care. Maybe you can't afford anything. Great. Then just come and let us know. And if you're on the other side of it and you can afford a lot more, pay a lot more. Because that money goes to allow people to come for free. But I just want everyone to know that this, our mission is to provide these for free. My classes are free. I spend all the time to do this for free. And it costs us a lot of money to do this, just to get people around the world. I mean, our travel expenses are extraordinary, right? And as Geshe Michael says, the airlines they're not very compassionate towards us. They're like, oh, like, oh, you offer free events? Here's a ticket for $5,000. You're like, they're not there yet. They're not giving free tickets. Yes. Hey, Anastasia, can you reach out to Shib? They just wrote us about wanting to help for Kyoto, and then we'll connect you. But that's why we charge money. We're trying to just make all this stuff go. We want to spread the message as much as we can. And we also believe it should be accessible to anybody. So if you can't afford it, that's okay. Just tell us you can't. And then we'll find a way to make it happen. We have some sponsors to make it possible. But if you would like to sponsor it as well, you have that opportunity too. Yay. But this is an amazingly powerful course. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss. You just don't want to miss the advanced medicine Buddha practices, because it can help you accelerate it helps you plant seeds and purify things much more quickly. That's the basic gist. So cool. Please come to those classes. Next week, we will not have class because I'll be at Diamond Mountain. So please. Oh, look. Yay. Thanks, Gina. If you want to join, there it is. Send it to your friends. Send it to your families. Send it to anyone who might be interested. And if you have some time, try to do we have 2.5 days off. Try to do some of the retreat too. Even if you just spend an hour doing the practices. They can have profound effects even in an hour. Cool. So thanks, translators. Thank you, tech team. Very much appreciate you. We'll be back in 2 weeks here. We'll see you in Diamond Mountain next week. And then come back in 30 minutes for Lamrim and more meditation. Have a great day, everyone. And please say goodbye to each other.
Bye, team. Bye a todos. Gracias.
Thank you so much,
Bye,
Tim.
Спасибо, Tim.
Muchas gracias, Maestro Tim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.